You are back on the battlefield to the boardroom with Philip Folsom and me, Colonel Garth Massey. We are talking to you about all kinds of stuff in an effort to bring culture and virtue and good business and good ideas and healthy life back to people who care about being continuous learners, who care about taking care of not only themselves, but their families and the businesses that they either support or manage or run. So welcome. And today, one of the things that was hitting us is as we get into Christmas here in Southern California, there's still green on the leaves. There's people working, but we got to get outside. We got to do more with our lives than sit in the prisons of our own mind or in the prisons of the four walls that hold up the roof. Because I think as humans, we do well when we reconnect with other things that are bigger than ourselves. And I think Christmas and Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to you, are great times to do that reconnection. And whether it's fitness or camping or hiking, which is still fitness, or just being outdoors, breathing fresh air, even in my yard, I think it's important. And so I'm sitting outside today, and I thought I would rap with you a little, but you actually, your whole thing with the wolves and with tribes and with culture, like this is kind of your wheelhouse. You spent over 20 years taking people outdoors and doing things. What does that give people?
Well, it removes us from the sick society that we were all born into. And one of my favorite quotes by Krishnamurti is, "It is no measure of health to be well adapted to a profoundly sick society," which isn't gloom and doom and as bleak as it sounds. The reality is we're born into these giant city systems where we don't even know the names of our neighbors, and that's not the way that a kinship tribal organism can function with health and high performance and happiness. So we are born into this sick society, and disengaging from that and going out, even into your yard with your wild animal in the back running around with the logs, it is a way to recalibrate to something else. And I'm always struck by, there's a famous quote about the knights when they went on their quest, that they all entered the woods at their own darkest point. And if you follow somebody else's path, and this is me paraphrasing Joseph Campbell, if you're following somebody else's path, then it is not your path, and you will never reach your full potential. And you can't help but follow somebody else's paths when we're embedded in these big city systems. And so moving out into, the wilderness, whether it be, and, for me, I used to do a lot of climbing stuff. So, you can climb in the gym, and it's like, oh, you put your hand on the red hold and you put your other hand on this purple hold. And then you go out into the real rock. It's like, yeah, you can put your hands wherever you want, because now this is reality. It's kind of like moving from college, like, here's what you're supposed to do to win the game. And then, or the military, right? To the real world. Oh, now you're in the real world, and nobody's telling you what to do or not to do.
I hate that.
Come on now.
Especially because we got a lot of vets that'll watch this one, and we talk about transition. I despise the way we describe, moving into civilian life, like you're entering the real world, or you're entering as though it were this magical place that was somehow coded different. They're still people, and they're people that have a different maybe discipline set, or they subscribe to a different set of virtues that are their sort of driving point. But I've never worked with a company where I've shown up and said, "Hey, we're here to talk about leadership or culture or teams," and had them go like, "Well, we don't do that here." I think defining yourself as in a place so that you can move to another place, the real world or the civilian market or the military. There's humans in all these places, and I don't know any humans that don't struggle with the same stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
New managers are always a little unsure about, am I doing the right things? Am I leading these people? Are they going to respect me? Will they recognize my authority? Like, it's the same doubt, right? And then as you move up further and you have to start worrying about resource distribution and whether, someone's going to get more of something or less of something, that's the same. It's the same in the military. It's the same in the civilian world. It's the same if you're a stay-at-home mom managing the family. I mean, do you cut the crust off? Does, the 8-year-old get a bigger slice than the 6-year-old? Like, these are human problems.
Right on.
But we try and put like a flag on it, or say that because I have awesome haircut and, so-and-so has long hair. I just think that's dangerous. Like, because it removes, I'm not saying you said it was dangerous. I'm just saying we use that phrase like it's cool. That's like saying like, hey, you're good enough the way you are. Like, no, you're not. Like,
Yeah.
you're broken.
None of us are.
None of us are. Like, I
Yeah.
don't work hard enough. I don't spend enough time with the kids. I don't do all these things. And it not to shame me, not so that I run around and feel like I'm somehow not good enough. I should know I'm not good enough because that's what fuels me, is the opportunity to improve. It's that challenge to say, okay, I've been given a set of things. Now, what am I going to do? Action, right? To make my life worth living. And whether that means, like this morning, getting up and hitting the track and doing intervals because I'm slowing down. So I got to get up at 6 and go do it. But just telling yourself like, hey, you're special enough because you exist. I mean, why not just say like, well, you're done. Why don't you go crawl in a hole and just be finished with it all? Because like, if you're already good enough, what are you working towards?
And hey, just to yank it back to the wilderness talk, there is a reality about the world when you just walk outside. You're a little cold, right? So you're like, that's a big deal right now for you of I'm cold or I'm not cold. But, your life gets down to that level of, what's it like to wear a pack? Are you in the sun? Are you in the shade?
Yeah.
What are you sitting on? Do you have a rock in your shoe? Like these things become, the reality of life is like you're saying, it's pretty simplistic when you get down to it.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of really important things in life. And it's probably not all the crap that we're just bleeding our souls into.
Yeah. Oh, now we're into like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you buy into that whole pyramid, right? And at the top, there's self-actualization. It's small because you have to fill all the foundational stuff first before you get up to there. But I also think it's small because that's the amount of time you should spend on it. Like it's good to do some deep dive soul searching, but spend your time on functional things that you can affect and make a difference on. Like I can change what I eat in the morning. But if I spend all day, sitting around in some kind of yoga pose, thinking about, whether the earth is touching the sky or the sky touches the earth, like I don't know that's the time well spent. Like small bites on that level, and then come down to the foundation level, which means go outside and figure out what shelter looks like for a little while. And I don't mean go live in a cave or, build yourself a tree fort, but experience things outside, experience things that you can affect. What are you sitting on? That's a great question. I mean, because there's a huge difference between an anthill and a rock and a log, both in temperature and comfort and, who's going to be intrusive in your life.
And hey, you know what? And just to maintain yourself. I used to, when I would take people out for the first time backpacking, and I'd say, hey, if you get a blister, we're carrying your pack. Like the whole team is carrying, or maybe even you.
Right.
Like if you don't wear sunscreen, if you're not practicing some self-care stuff, we're carrying you.
And basic stuff,
so,
like water. Like I know people who step out on hikes by drinking 2 Monsters, And
hey, and Garth, I have to go societal really quick. This is a societal conversation. People are not taking care of themselves, and we're carrying them.
Yes.
This is the whole COVID conversation. It's wiping out people with pre-existing conditions who are ill. Like it is our duty as a country. I mean, there's a reason why our country's getting hammered. we are the top 3 of obesity. We are not doing well of our just raw physical health, not to mention, you know, our spiritual and emotional health. But physically, we need to accept the duty of some self-care so we can be functional members of our wilderness party, if you will. Just vital, people.
So you go back to your very first quote, right? It's no measure of a person or a man, you said, to be well adjusted to a sick society. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means that if I'm sitting around going, I'm doing pretty good, right? You're not. Like, you're not being honest with both where you are and the bar that you're measuring yourself against. So you talk about like our obesity, you know, the people who are locked indoors, mental health. What I'm hearing and what I'm thinking about, and as you say that, is like, hey, you got to go back and check what you're measuring yourself against. Like, keeping up with the Joneses, that ain't it. Like, you can't look at, you know, Disney Plus and watch some, you know, young Hollywood persona like playing family on TV and be like, oh, that's the measure of success. We have to have better measures of success, better people to look up to, better people to aspire to, better examples in our lives. And I think we've allowed so many bad examples, you know, that it's okay to be less than. And then we justify it by saying, it's okay, you're a good person or you're good enough. And I just feel like that's settling. And I think the outdoors brings that very, very clearly into focus. And I don't know if I'm on the same track that you're on, but I think it's okay to recognize that there are things you could do to be better. I think it's important to set goals for yourself, not goals of, I want to drive a Mercedes someday or a BMW or whatever your jam is, but a goal of something that matters. Your health is a fantastic one. Because it is why we're getting, you know, beat down. Like, there are secondary conditions where we were dying in droves of horrible things that stop eating sugar. And this from a guy who, you know, has ice cream every night. Like, we're doing it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think the fix to that is you start small, go for a walk. Like, then go for a walk on a dirt trail, you know, then go for a walk on a dirt trail with enough water to last you for more than the first 3 miles, you know, and then bring a friend and go for a walk, or a dog if you see her walking around in the back here. But we don't do those steps because the discomfort, I think, honestly, like, it's a pain in the butt to load everyone in the car and go to the trail start, especially if you live in a city, because you got to go somewhere. But I think that it's surprisingly easier than we give it credit. We're just shooting for like epic. You know, if you're in a city, you watch a thing about Montana, and if you go for a little trail hike on some dirt trail, it doesn't feel like, you know, the grand open spaces, and so you feel like you failed somehow, and that wasn't ever the point.
That's the Joneses again.
That's the Joneses again.
Yeah.
I think we're lied to. We've set a bar on something that is not real, and it's time to pull it back in. I mean, maybe we're a little early for a New Year's resolution kind of chat, but it's time to pull it back in. And we talked about this before. If you're the average of your 5 closest friends, that means average. That means that you've got some things that are making you better and some things that are dragging your butt down. So look at those things. Look at the things and the places where you spend your time. And, you know, if the things that you're spending your time on are not challenging you, you know, to improve, to grow, to learn, to enhance the lives of the people around you, you know, let it go.
My exploration with dealing with the not enough piece, which is inadequacy, which in my experience, all people have, particularly men, because we haven't been initiated into an adult, you know, mature operating system or psychological platform. Where that shows up is it's very hard for adolescent psychological people to make sacrifices because we think that we're special and we deserve comfort and pleasure and validation constantly, which is what children do deserve,
right?
Because we're, you know, they are taken care of. When you're a big boy, you no longer should need those things at that level. And so then you start serving, right? You start dealing with bigger things such as, meaning, duty, responsibilities, stuff that makes the suffering make sense. And so that's the things that we have the ability to re-engage with. And it comes down to sacrifice. It's an intentional, uncomfortable thing that we do, which then is the thing that we alter up on that altar of being successful.
Yeah.
And it's always uncomfortable. That practices are uncomfortable, not habits, but practices, which is exercise, getting outside, doing your morning rituals, prep your meals, all the stuff that adulting consists of.
Yeah. And man, I've never been on that train of like beating you up for not getting up 5 minutes earlier than the competition. But man, I like the way you call that. Like a sacrifice is intentional and it's necessary, because the sacrifice is how you take yourself to the next level. And that's the workouts and all the things you listed. That's strong.
It's the thing that separates us. Well, I know, and you're a free will guy, but it's the thing that separates us from, we are partly divine and we're partly animal.
Right.
And so the ability to intentionally give up something now, to, defer gratification now for getting something else in the future, right? That's our unique wheelhouse as Homo sapien, is that we can do that thing. And to not do that thing means you just rejected the gift.
Well, we do like to reject that gift. I mean, there's a Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson is scooping mayonnaise out of a jar and eating it. And he just looks at the camera and goes, "I feel really sorry for future Homer." So totally. We don't take care of future self very well at all. But maybe we should.
Up until now.
We should. Yeah, up until now. Yeah. Right. We should. You talked to Joseph Campbell and about the path, and I think it's from a similar area in that book. And my favorite line is like, if your path is clear, like if you can see the steps you have to take, you can see your path in front of you, you're on the wrong path. Because I could tell you what you should probably do with your life. I could tell you in Facebook and LinkedIn and what you should do with your life, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing because the path is not as clear, because my path requires sacrifice and intentionality and hurt. And your path requires me just to give you my saged wisdom and advice. And so,
guys, you can't plan for the unknown. Everybody's waiting for the plan. Like, somebody give me the plan. It's like, well, it's in the unknown.
Right.
There is no plan. You have practices and you got your people. That's what you got. There's, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang, 10 minutes. 10 minutes of tactical
Was
talk.
that 10 minutes? Okay.
I don't know if it's 10 minutes. Feels like 10 minutes.
I don't know if you can see my shirt. Can you see my shirt?
Oh, you are rocking the Command Ready shirt today.
I know. It's kind of hard to see it, but
well, it's meant to be subtle.
I like this shirt.
It's meant to be subtle. You can earn them. You know where you can get your next one, actually? When we go out to the wilderness.
We're going to the wilderness.
In March.
In the mountains.
In the mountains. It's going to be 2 consecutive Fridays, full days. You're going to have to walk, think, play, try, talk. Like, it's going to be a little bit of work. You can't buy a ticket yet, but you're going to get the full Command Ready program and the Wolf Tribe experience and some surprises. And it's going to be outside and it's going to be in March, and we're doing it with clean, fresh air, and we're spreading out. So this is just a teaser, but it's coming at the start of the year. And there's only going to be enough seats for, what did we say, 20? I think there's only space for 20. So, yeah, so that's coming. All right, if you made it this far, happy Hanukkah to you, brother. Merry Christmas to everybody. And we'll see you next week.
And everybody else, get outside.
Get outside.
Just walk outside. Take your shoes off. Get outside.
Just do it.